Have you ever felt that frustrating, almost crushing gap between the life you really want to live, the one where you've written the novel, run the marathon, maybe speak fluent Mandarin, and the life you're actually living, which, well, often involves exhaustion, distraction, and realizing another day just ended without really moving the needle?
Oh, yeah. It's that constant draining dilemma, isn't it?
Yeah.
We see this massive outcome we want.
Right.
And we instinctively think, okay, I need some equally massive, dramatic burst of effort to get there.
Like flipping a switch.
Exactly. So we rely on these, motivational surges, try to overhaul everything at once, and what happens?
Burnout, overwhelm.
Inevitably. And then that cycle of sort of self-reproach just starts all over again.
Yeah, exactly. Your dreams start feeling like they exist in some kind of parallel universe because you're convinced you just don't have the time or maybe the willpower for the huge effort those goals seem to demand. So for this deep dive, we've gathered a stack of sources focused on habits, consistency, and identity. And we're going to try and find the real shortcut to transformation.
Okay.
The one that completely sidesteps that exhausting reliance on sheer willpower.
Yeah, our mission today is really to explore how the smallest changes, actions so small they feel almost laughable, are, well, paradoxically, the only reliable path to reshaping an entire life.
Laughable is a good word for it.
It is. And what's fascinating here is that the material gives us a framework. It helps understand not just what to do, but how human beings, how our minds and identities actually restructure based on these tiny, consistent inputs.
So it's like a roadmap.
It is. It's a roadmap built on patience and proof, not just fleeting motivation.
Okay, let's start unpacking this. There's a great case study in the material,
Yeah.
The story of Maya. Can you set that up?
Sure. Picture her. 32 years old, maybe looking in the mirror on a Tuesday morning, feeling completely lost in that gap we just talked about.
That overwhelming feeling.
Right. She had those huge dreams, the novel, the marathon, maybe fluent Spanish, but they all felt trapped behind the daily grind. Work, family, the constant phone buzz.
Standard stuff.
Yeah, that classic state of aspiration, just completely coupled with paralysis. The goals are beautiful, but the starting action, writing a whole chapter, running 5 miles, it just feels too big. Too intimidating.
So the brain just freezes.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
It calculates the effort needed, flags it as high friction, and boom, resistance kicks in.
Right. Okay, but this is where Maya made, as you said, a ridiculously small decision.
Yeah.
She didn't vow to write 10 pages a day.
Which would have failed.
Oh, absolutely. Probably by day 3. Instead, she committed to writing just one sentence. One single sentence before she checked her phone in the morning. That was the entire habit.
One sentence.
Yeah.
And the sources are really clear about this. The content of that sentence. Totally irrelevant.
Didn't matter what it was.
Not at all. It might have been something utterly forgettable, the sky is gray today or whatever. The output was 0% important. But the action itself, that was revolutionary.
Okay, so why did the one sentence work where, say, trying for an hour of writing would have failed?
It's all about minimizing what psychologists call the activation energy. You see, most failures aren't because we lack ability. They're because of the friction involved in just starting.
Makes sense. Getting off the couch is the hard part.
Exactly. If the task is so small that skipping it feels, well, kind of silly, like it requires almost zero conscious willpower. Your brain just lets you do it without triggering those resistance centers.
So it's unshakable because it demands basically nothing.
Precisely.
So she did it the next day and the day after. She built that consistency first. The numbers were tiny, but they stacked up. What happened?
Well, 3 months later, she had 30 pages. Not bad, right?
Yeah.
A year later, she held her finished manuscript.
Wow. Built one sentence at a time.
Built one tiny, unremarkable sentence at a time. And here's the key psychological bit. The reward she got, that feeling of instant success, however small, was much greater than the effort she put in.
The reward loop.
Yeah, she won the day immediately. That's way more rewarding to the brain than grinding for an hour and feeling like you barely made a dent. She established that habit loop, tiny cue, tiny routine, and the immediate reward of victory.
Okay, so she finished the book. That's huge.
Yeah.
But you mentioned transformation. The sources pivot here, right? They argue the manuscript wasn't even the most important change.
Exactly. That finished book, that was just a byproduct. The real core shift wasn't in her output. It was happening inside, in her identity.
Wow, so...
Well, she'd been operating for years as, someone who wishes they were a writer, or maybe someone who fails to stick to goals. We all have those labels for ourselves.
Sure.
By succeeding with that tiny one-sentence habit, day after day, she began to internalize a new self-perception. slowly but surely.
She became someone who consistently showed up.
That's it, exactly. She started seeing herself as someone who keeps promises to herself. And crucially, I am a writer.
Not I want to be, but I am.
Precisely. And this foundational identity wasn't built through some massive burst of motivation. It was built through patience. Consistent, small, daily proof. The brain needed evidence, and she gave it that evidence every single morning.
Okay, I get the power of that identity shift conceptually, but here's where I think some listeners, maybe high achievers, might push back a bit.
Okay, what's the pushback?
Doesn't this risk complacency? I mean, if my goal is just one push-up, when do I ever get strong? If it's one sentence, how does that scale? This sounds incredibly slow.
That's a really crucial and valid question, and the material is very clear on this point. The goal of that initial absurdly small action isn't about achieving greatness right away.
Okay.
Its sole purpose is to overcome that starting inertia and to establish the identity. The goal is making it frictionless. We aren't optimizing for speed at the beginning. We're optimizing purely for adherence.
Yeah.
Showing up.
Okay, so get the habit locked in first, make it automatic.
Exactly. Once that consistency is automatic, once the brain no longer resists the habit, that's when scaling up becomes remarkably easy, almost natural.
So the speed comes after the identity is cemented, not during the initial baby steps.
Correct. And this taps into that really powerful analogy from the source material.
Yeah.
Your habits are essentially votes for the type of person you want to become.
Votes. Okay, explain that.
Every time Maya wrote that one sentence, she cast a vote. I am a writer. She didn't need to win every single vote every single day. She just needed to win the majority of votes over time.
So a missed day isn't catastrophic.
Not at all. It didn't derail her because the identity I am a writer was already being established by hundreds of those tiny prior wins. She had the proof.
And, okay, so once that self-trust was rooted from her writing habit, did that make it easier to build other habits? Did it compound?
Absolutely. That's the compounding effect of self-trust. The sources show she then started with just 5 minutes of stretching each morning. Again, something so manageable she never skipped it.
Too small to fail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And eventually, those 5 minutes grew naturally. No forcing it. They turned into longer runs, and eventually she ran her first half marathon about 18 months later.
Wow. So she didn't suddenly find the willpower to run 5 miles. She just scaled up something she already trusted herself to do.
Precisely. And the same principle applied to learning Spanish. She started with just 5 words a day, maybe during her coffee break, nothing intimidating.
Only 5 words. Okay.
2 years later, she's having actual conversations with native speakers. It's powerful because, like you said, she didn't suddenly acquire more time or willpower. She just changed how she operated, how she kept promises to herself by trusting these small, consistent actions.
There's a quote from Maya later on, right, looking back.
Yeah, 5 years later, she reflected on it all. And this quote, I think, really nails the whole deep dive. The real gift was discovering that I could trust myself. That's what small habits gave me. Not just accomplishments, but self-trust.
Wow. Self-trust. That's the engine.
That's the ultimate prize, isn't it? Because self-trust is the engine that drives sustainable, long-term change across pretty much everything you attempt.
Okay, this brings us neatly to the counterintuitive math behind all this, because most people, when they try to change, they lean heavily on willpower, right?
And the material describes willpower perfectly. It's like an exhausting muscle.
Yeah, it gets fatigued easily.
Totally. It's like your phone battery. You start at 100% in the morning, maybe. But every tough decision, every frustrating email, every moment you resist temptation, it just drains that battery bit by bit.
Until by 5 p.m., you've got nothing left for that workout or that writing session.
Exactly. But habits, once they're established, they function like autopilot.
Yeah.
They require almost no cognitive load, no willpower drain.
Saving the battery.
Preserving that precious willpower battery for the stuff that actually needs it. And this is where the math gets genuinely mind-boggling. It shows why consistency beats intensity basically every single time.
Okay, hit us with the math, because we tend to think linearly, right? Like, improving 10% sounds way better than 1%.
We absolutely think linearly, and that's often why we fail with big changes.
Yeah.
But the power here is in compounding. Small changes multiply over time.
Okay.
So if you improve by just 1% each day consistently, you won't just be 365% better by the end of the year. That's the linear math.
Right, which sounds okay, but
because of compounding,
yeah,
you will actually be, wait for it, 37 times better than when you started.
Whoa, 37 times, not 3.65 times.
37 times. Let that number sink in for a second. It's huge.
That means the person who just committed to that tiny, almost embarrassing 1% improvement, they got results potentially 10 times faster than someone who tried to cram in a massive 10% improvement every now and then, which is that typical boom and bust cycle.
Exactly. And the flip side is just as dramatic. The difference between getting 1% better each day and getting 1% worse each day,
Yeah.
it looks negligible in the short term.
Like after a week or a month, the graphs probably look pretty similar, almost flat.
Almost identical. But stretch that out over a year, the 1% better graph shoots up exponentially. The person declining by 1% each day, their graph plummets. They've dwindled down to almost zero, regressed almost completely.
That is profound. That's the lesson right there for everyone listening, isn't it?
It really is.
The trajectory of your life. It isn't determined by those big, dramatic, sweeping gestures we love to announce, the ones that depend on a massive spike of motivation.
No.
It's determined by what you do consistently, day after ordinary day, in those tiny, mundane moments.
That's where the magic happens.
No.
In the ordinary.
So if the math and the psychology both scream consistency, why do almost all New Year's resolutions and those big, ambitious Monday starts, fail by February?
Yeah, it's the classic trap, isn't it? People start with habits that are just far too ambitious for where they are right now.
Like going from 0 to meditating for 30 minutes.
Exactly. Or wanting to run 5 miles when they haven't run in years. Or deciding to cut out all sugar overnight.
Setting themselves up to fail.
Completely. It sets them up for disappointment, which instantly kills the motivation, and the habit never gets a chance to take root. The body and mind just interpret that huge demand as a threat, a massive drain on willpower, and they slam on the brakes.
Which brings us, I think, to the really practical, tactical advice from the sources, the rule of absurdity.
Yes, the rule of absurdity. I love this.
The instruction is basically start so small that failure seems impossible.
That's it.
Yeah.
The initial goal isn't about maximizing results, not calories burned, not pages written. The only goal at the start is establishing the habit of showing up, just keeping that tiny promise to yourself.
Because when you start that small, you bypass all that brain resistance we talked about.
You do. You're essentially building the physical pathway, like carving out a neural groove, before you even worry about how fast the train is going to run on it.
Yeah.
Think of Maya's one sentence again.
Yeah.
The task was so frictionless. She could do it even on her worst, most exhausted, least motivated day. That level of reliability, that's gold when you're building a habit.
Okay, let's give the listener some really concrete, actionable examples of this absurdity in practice. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Good idea. So say you want to build a reading habit. Don't commit to a chapter a day.
Too much pressure.
Way too much. Start with 1 page. Or, heck, even 1 paragraph. It sounds absurdly easy, maybe pointless, but it guarantees you open the book. That's the win.
Okay, what about exercise?
Same principle.
Yeah.
Don't plan some grueling 60-minute HIIT workout if you're starting from scratch. Do 1 push-up.
1
single push-up. Or maybe 5 minutes of light stretching. The point isn't the workout. It's putting on your workout clothes and doing something.
Yeah.
Establishing the ritual.
And diet. People always try to overhaul everything at once.
Yeah, and it backfires. Instead of cutting out everything you love, just add 1 positive thing. Add 1 vegetable to 1 meal today. That's it.
Doesn't feel like deprivation.
Exactly. These actions should feel almost silly, almost too small to matter. But that silliness is precisely what makes them work. It ensures the habit gets established because it bypasses willpower fatigue completely. You're building the runway before you even think about takeoff.
And the material really stresses. The time to start this tiny thing is right now, isn't it? Not waiting for Monday or the first of the month or for conditions to be perfect.
Absolutely. Perfection is the enemy of the tiny habit. Just choose 1 ridiculously small action today, something that aligns even slightly with the person you want to become, and just do it, no matter how small or insignificant it feels in the moment.
Because the real power isn't in the size of that first step.
Not at all. The power is in the consistency, the accumulation over time, and that quiet faith. You build the proof that small things matter because you keep doing them. You're proving to yourself vote by vote that you're the type of person who shows up.
That distinction feels really key. Maya didn't magically get more time or find some hidden reserve of willpower. She just changed how she kept promises to herself. She transformed by consistently keeping those small, almost embarrassing promises until she fundamentally trusted herself enough to show up for the bigger ones later.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
And, That leads us nicely into a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over, connecting back to that identity idea.
Okay, leave us with something to think about.
Well, if every small action you take is truly a vote cast for your future self, then what tiny, almost silly vote can you cast today, right now? Something that aligns, even just a little bit, with the person you genuinely want to become. Because your future self, looking back years from now, they won't remember today as the day you made some dramatic, sweeping declaration. They'll remember it as the day you planted a tiny, consistent seed. A seed that, because you kept watering it, grew exponentially into something truly meaningful.